Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Modern Merchant Podcast. My name is Austin. I am your host and the go-to-market director here at Flxpoint. With me, as always, I have Travis Merrier, the CEO of Flxpoint. In today's episode, we have a very special guest. We have Mike, who is the senior manager of content syndication and technology partnerships with Essendant. Thanks for jumping on, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Of course, that was a good job title description there. I think everybody got what you do, but just to get us started, give us a quick background about yourself. Let us know exactly, what does that entail for Essendant, and then just a little bit about who Essendant is.
Sure. I'm in the marketing group technically at Essendant, focusing on the digital and e-commerce side. And so what my teams are responsible for is the processes and the distribution and syndication of all of our digital item product content. Essendant is a wholesaler. We've got warehouses all over the country, and we have probably, anywhere from 60 to 70,000 or so office products, cleaning products, industrial, safety, janitorial, break room, all different kinds of products traditionally, that go to resellers who, sell office products, sand, industrial, those types of things to other businesses. So my teams are actually in charge of managing and syndicating all of our digital product content to our partners and to our resellers who use that data to sell products on their websites. So we've got one team that, we've got sort of a one-size-fits-all flavor of our content in a few different database formats, as well as pricing and inventory information, which I think is what you guys consume, actually, Flxpoint from us. And we syndicate that content monthly, and then in the pricing and the inventory is more real time. And then there's another team actually that does a lot of customized syndication for certain larger customers that have more maybe rigorous formatting requirements and things like that, where they've said, we can't just take the one size fits all flavor from you guys. We need custom mapped content and things like that. So we do have the ability to do that in certain cases, and I have a team that does that as well. Gotcha. The technology partnership side is just more my role in working with folks like you guys are, I guess, what we would call, we have an acronym internally called 3PV that stands for third party vendor. And that's really just any typically software vendor in either like e-commerce or ERP or data that provide services and systems to our resellers in our market. And so, obviously, like with you guys, we have a vested interest in working with you guys so that you understand what our data is and how to integrate with us and things like that. And so I manage relationships with a lot of the partners such as you guys that work with us. Excellent.
And how did you get started with Essendant?
I started with Essendant, I guess, in the end of 2012, so almost 9 years ago. Actually, my background was in engineering. I came from electronic design automation, so companies that design software for companies that design microchips and circuits and stuff like that. So I was an applications consultant in that world. And then I went to work for a startup and was working from home in that field for a while. It was an international startup, worked there for a few years, didn't exactly pan out, and was looking to do something a little bit different, a little bit more on the business side with managing relationships and particularly in software, and happened to see a position at Essendant that was open to do just that. So I was really hired to be the partnership manager for, third-party vendors and software. And as time has gone on and different reorganizations and things like that, I think because I've had a chance to work with so many customers and so many e-commerce vendors and understand how they consume data, sort of morphed into this role of also, being able to handle the content syndication piece, because I think it ties really closely to how we work with our partners. So,
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. We've been I think we've been working with Essendant for a while now. I remember getting looped in, Justin worked with the other Mike Z, and then we've got you. It's like we had the two-headed spear of the Mike Z's, and it's been a really good ride with you guys from an inventory source perspective to start, and then into Flxpoint, because we do help out from that data side of things. And that leads me to our first question. And I was really curious about this because when Travis and I and a bunch of people in this company, we talk to other vendors or suppliers or distributors that we work with, either data's lacking or it's good, it's manageable. And there's usually like maybe a few people that kind of help out in that realm, or it's like a team effort kind of thing with those different companies. But you guys have your own like digital content syndication group, and that works specifically on that. So have you guys always had that group? And is that kind of like the forefront of where you guys see a lot of value with your company with being able to provide really good data to resellers?
Yeah, I think we have had syndication in the past, I guess even technically, obviously before I was here. We haven't had some of the customization that we have now, and we haven't had maybe quite as much of the digital focus as we've had in the past, 5 to 8 years. I think, a lot of where content was focused when Essendant, when it was the United Stationers first started, the focus was the print catalog, right? So a lot of the content development as well as the processes for syndication and things probably, originated in sort of this, how do we get the printed catalog out there and how is that going to work? And as time has gone on, syndication has kind of moved from more of a, base merchandising function to sort of get some digital stuff out there in addition to the catalog to what it is now, where it's really the primary focus of how we get our content out there. And then we've sort of bolted on in the past few years this customized piece as well. So I think we've always had syndication to some extent, but it continues to grow and the focus shifts to being digital and multi-channel that way. And I think we've made a lot of strides since I've been here based on how it started.
When you mentioned the customization piece, do you mind just kind of going into that? Like what is that side of the business? And you said it's recently you guys rolled it out. What specifically does that?
Sure. And I mean, within the past few years. So, instead of just having our, let's say static couple formats of the database that we make available, some customers, we may have an API connection directly to their, if they share a vendor with us, they may be large enough to say, hey, we've got a portal that you need to use. And, we call, you guys have a category called chairs. We call it, office chairs or, all these different things where we've got to make our content fit, not necessarily change it or rewrite things in a certain way, but more like, here's the way we map it from one person to another. And so that mapping, particularly for categories and for structures and portals can take some time, as you guys, I'm sure, are aware and have automated a lot, right? Coming in from all these different sources. Yeah. We need to do that in some cases with some of our major customers. And so, we've got some dedicated resources to do some of that work.
Gotcha. All right. It makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious, you guys you said like 60 to 70,000 products. I'm sure you're getting new products in maybe every quarter, every month, who knows? Like, I'm just curious, what does the process look like? How often, do you get new products in that you guys might start selling? Is it daily? Is it quarterly? And then when the new product shows up, how does that go from team to team to be able to be live and have data on the website or available for your resellers? Just love to know a little more about that process.
Yeah. Oh boy. How many minutes do we
have? At a high level, 3,000 foot view. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I mean, really at this point, I think, years ago probably was more of a quarterly, monthly cycle driven by the fact that people couldn't consume the data that quickly, right? Like, we've got to make it for this catalog, comes out the next quarter or whatever it is.
Right.
Now, I mean, particularly with COVID and how fluid things have been, I mean, we introduce products daily, weekly, not en masse, but it could be really any day of the week. We could have a new product coming in, an old product coming out, and getting content. So basically, I'd say our content flow is probably similar to a lot of other major customers and e-tailers, but where we've got let's say a portal interface, and our merchandising people work with our suppliers to approve items, onboard what that content's going to be. We have certain base requirements that we need for operational and then rich content to bring those on. Once those items kind of get set up at a base level into our system, they come into our content development team. So we have a team whereas my team is more focused on pushing out. their team is more focused on the inbound and then making sure that we get all the information we need and that it's formatted and organized the way that it needs to be. And then within all of that too, we have to be conscious of, when is pricing set up for it? When are we going to have inventory in a certain number of warehouses? So there's all these other processes from other groups that, need to be followed before an item can be ready for syndication. So I would say for our static database, like the ECDB and things we typically have a monthly cycle where we refresh that data that would include any new items over the month and things like that. Right. But for some of our other channels, such as our Smart Search suite of web services and some more real-time things, technically you could get a new item every day, depending on how quickly it's set up and the inventory is there and things like that. So depending on how people are consuming data from us, they could be seeing new items every day, or they could be seeing them every month.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like a process that's definitely evolved to be a lot more real time than, like you said, back in the day with the catalogs going out quarterly. And it sounds like you also are doing it in a smart way. You're leveraging a lot. The vendors are actually providing you some data via your guys' vendor onboarding system, and then you're augmenting that, tweaking it, approving it, right? So you're not rewriting it, and basically, maybe you're rewriting it in some scenarios, but you're not reinventing the wheel each time, right? They're giving you a little bit of a leg up right out the gate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we work with our suppliers directly to get the base content, because we're the wholesaler, right? We're kind of in the middle. So we're not manufacturing. We do have some own brand products that that are our brands that we do manufacture, and obviously would have the content for that. But, for the thousands of others that we work with, we do rely on them as kind of the source of truth.
Right.
And then, but because we're often working with the end customers and e-tailers and such a wide range of folks, we get a really good look into what's needed out in the marketplace. And so that helps us drive to what we ask suppliers for and what we need, whether it's compliance data or whether it's, hey, you only have one image, we really need 5, or, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Are you guys taking your own pictures ever, or are you typically asking the vendor for it?
In the past, I think we used to do more pictures. I think we might have some capabilities still where we do that, but typically we get it from the suppliers.
Cool.
Do you guys ever not onboard a new vendor or brand because their data is so bad?
That's a good question. I don't know that we've ever and again, this would be more on the merchandising end. So even if we have, I haven't had the visibility to it. I've not really heard that we've, kicked anyone to the curb or anything like that. It's typically more like, well, these are what our standards are. And so in order for an item to get through, we need to work with you to get, to this standard. So that's kind of the approach we've taken, I think.
It seems like, with us, and it's just a recurring thing, especially on the inventory source side, is people just dropping vendors and suppliers or distributors just because of bad data. It's like they have the products, they have the brands, that you want to sell and make the margin. But if I can't show that to my customer, especially with a 50K SKU catalog, it's a daunting task, and people just end up kind of quitting on that front. So that makes sense. And it staying on that same breadth of data, you guys, so you provide the data in a bunch of different formats, like you said, for your customers. Some it could be, we were integrated with an ICAPS files, and then API integrations, and then some other random stuff. But you see that good data is the driving needle for you guys. So really what I'm trying to get at is, for me to pick Essendant over a competitor, like a distributor that holds the same products you guys do you guys see having better data is kind of that cherry on top to keep your customers and to get new customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, we've known for a while, obviously, how important e-commerce has been and how important your product content is for sales. And I think it's just kind of exponentially accelerated over the past year or so with COVID. So, I think product data, it's almost not even, in my opinion, a cherry on top. It's kind of a core need and value, I think, at this point. If you don't have if you don't have content at a certain level, I mean, because that's so key to competing online, and competing online is competing. I think it's really a core value. Having that good content. I mean, that's what's selling your product. And if people are going to do their research and they don't have what they need, they move on.
So have you guys seen what's it? I feel like we always talk about this on podcasts. We have to bring it up is COVID. And have you seen like a major spike in new resellers, people needing better content? Like, has it been a little bit crazier for your end? Maybe not specifically, because we've talked about it on the warehousing side, right? The manual intervention of somebody actually having to pick, pack, and ship. And that's just hard in some states and other cases. But from like a content perspective too, I don't know if you want to hit on both, but from a content perspective, is it just like out of the roof? Like, you guys are just so busy helping massage content and providing API, providing support for all these different ways of integrating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, on the operations side, I mean, obviously our drop ship capabilities, which is one of our strengths at Essendant, I just more and more people taking advantage of that than have not before. And that also opening us up to other customers that might be outside of our traditional wheelhouse. I mean, I can even see just from the number of resellers that we're working with together with you guys, and that I've, been able to, based on what their needs are in e-commerce. I mean, I feel like I've been more engaged with you guys and with partners like you because of this boom in these customers that are like, hey, I've got a Shopify site, I've got a Magento, I've got a BigCommerce. I need to manage all this data. I want to drop ship. I want to be able to order. How do I can't do that all myself. I've got this great website, but how do we make that all kind of come together? And seen a lot of new customers in that realm for us outside of like maybe your traditional office products, JanSan, B2B accounts that we would normally work with. And so a lot of them too maybe are outside of that vertical, but they're just looking to expand their assortment. They want access to more products and to be able to sell them online. So they need that content. The content's the first thing. They're like, we don't even have a warehouse. We just need to be able to send you an order, and we need that content. The content is key, right? Because that's how they're selling it. So yeah, I mean, it's been booming from our perspective in that way.
I'm curious. We've got some different ideas and opinions, and we're obviously have a good idea of like, the type of customers and why there's been this shift or demand spike really in dropship. But I'm just curious from your side, what you've seen, if there's anything we could maybe pick up on, why exactly has dropship been so highly demanded because of COVID? Obviously, people want to go online. Doesn't mean they have to dropship necessarily. So I'm just curious if you've seen anything. Is it existing customers who have a brick and mortar? Is it more so just the new guys who want to get online because they realize that everything's moving there now with COVID? At least that it's kind of spiked up in their mind. I'm just curious, any insights into why you think dropship specifically has picked up so much with COVID?
I guess, and this is, again, it's just from what I see, which is probably a limited view, but I think it's more the folks that, they don't have warehouses and they maybe don't have a lot of trucks, or they want to service a larger area than they're physically capable of doing. So they want to find a partner that can help them do that. So, maybe you're normally doing business in South Carolina, but you want to get somebody in Florida those same products, and you can't drive that far, but hey, Essendant's got a warehouse, right, that can pop it over there at night. So we see a lot of customers, I think, or at least I have that do that. Also working with, some larger customers that just have a big footprint and take multiple suppliers in and leverage the dropship capabilities to fulfill on their behalf. But I will say, like, a majority, a lot of our customers too do the last mile fulfillment. And because we work with so many small to mid-sized business and independent resellers, they really put a lot of value in their own last mile delivery and service proposition. And that really is what helps differentiate them in the marketplace. So we have a ton of customers that are also, invested in doing that as well. So it's really it's not just dropship, but it's both.
Yeah.
So one thing that I did want to talk about, and this just popped in my head, quick question. because we've worked with you guys, especially back in United Stationers, right? Back in the day. And, we've had people request like Ors Nasco, I believe was a part of the company, different company. And you guys have different departments and verticals. Is that right? If so, could you kind of hit on the different, because you quickly ran through it, right? Jansan, office supplies. Are there any new ones that are coming into play that you guys are looking to tap into?
Right now it's actually, so at one time we had ORS NASCO, which was like industrial, mostly heavy industrial stuff. Our Jansan, which is now under the Essendant bucket, was with a separate company called Legas, which was bought by United Stationers. United Stationers was more office products. I think Medco was is a company that we had owned that had like auto body shop equipment, and there were some other ones. But we've since spun off, I think, ORS and Medco and some of the others. So I don't know that, we haven't recently acquired any different verticals, but I think we are expanding our assortment and some of the suppliers that we're working with into some new verticals. We still have some industrial and safety, a lot of safety stuff. Our Jansan, continues to be a growing area. There was a lot. You may have heard of a company called Azerty. Azerty, was a long time ago bought by United Stationers, but I still hear a lot of people using that in the marketplace, and that was more focused on office technology, printers and components, computers, that kind of thing. So we do quite a bit of that, and we've actually, we've got some business that we do as well. That's what we call vendor direct. So, maybe fresh food items, maybe different furniture, maybe things like that, where we can be working with the vendors, to providing content and orders, but having them drop ship on our behalf and things like that. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't say from an acquisition perspective that I'm aware of that I've seen, much new stuff recently, but as far as partnering with other suppliers and vendors for different types of fulfillment and different products, I think there's going to be more.
Nice. That was one thing I remember with Ors Nasca. That was a hard integration for us, and people wanting to drop ship the products were huge, right? Were they like these massive industrial like
oil meters and pipeline stuff for pipelines and like all kinds of crazy
trying to pull in weights and dimensional weights and like all the different ways that you guys fulfill those types of products. That was a fun one when we were first originally scoping out that integration. And then around that time, we started hearing some rumors and seeing some things about you guys getting acquired by Staples and how that went down. What was that experience like?
Well, it's interesting. I guess technically we didn't get acquired by Staples, but we got acquired by the company that owns both Staples and us.
Gotcha.
So the nice thing, at least from my perspective, is that we've been able to operate independently. And most important, I guess the biggest change or improvement or whatever that I've seen really is just the attention that we have to our customer data, the safety of our customer data, and making sure that there's protocols and processes in place so that we're not sharing data with Staples. And this is all pretty public stuff, I think is a condition of that merger. We're very careful about, how we deal with our customers and not giving Staples access to that, because there's competition that goes on there. So that was, one big change just from procedural and technology firewalls and things like that. But really what it's enabled us to do a lot is leverage some of the, I think probably supplier relationships and some technology and some of our fulfillment network capabilities that Staples has. Like, for example, this past year, we rolled out a program called Market ADOT. And I don't know if you're familiar with what ADOT is in our world. It stands for Automated Dealer Order Transfer. And it's in a nutshell, is kind of just how we handle operational logic to fulfill item orders from different facilities. Like, you have a home facility and there may be spoke facilities. And if they have the item, they can deliver to the home. And, it's kind of the bread and butter of a lot of our operational processes around wrap and label and delivering product. But what we've rolled out with Staples in the past year or so is we've added some of their warehouses to our network. So they show up like Essendant facilities. So I believe it's been like 19 or so facilities. So in addition to just having more facilities from which to pick, some of the items that they stock are the same as what we stock. So you get a better fulfillment on those items. But in addition to that, they have items that Essendant never traditionally stocked that they do have access to, that now, because they're part of our network, our customers now have access to as well. And so we've been rolling out over the past year programs so that our resellers can take advantage of that. And again, being very careful that data is not being shared with other Staples facilities and everything being on the up and up, but basically being able to pass that value on to our customers, and that's gone over really well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember seeing those emails. Had to been like towards the beginning of the year of like all of these different locations getting added. And that's, honestly, if I was a reseller, right, and I'm selling online and I just know that I can just keep selling away, but something's going to get fulfilled even quicker, then like you guys are just adding so much more value to the relationship of selling online and being able to do, we live in this, and Travis can speak to this. We've talked to, Ship Engine recently. We've talked to Ship Hero in the past. Like we've talked to all of these different shipping companies and fulfillment side. And like, that's the recurring theme of, how do we compete against same day shipping from Amazon, or the same thing of how do we compete with free shipping and getting that out as quick as possible. So you guys adding those different fulfillment centers has been probably key to a lot of resellers.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. You mentioned that you guys might actually have one of your vendors drop ship on your behalf, right? And so, if I heard you correctly, but obviously you have your own warehouses, and then you guys are in the middle of a retailer that might be drop shipping or buying from you, or might go down all the way down that chain to a vendor. So just managing that technology, that's what we're also bullish on. In that this is like, well, we talk about the modern merchant. We call this the Modern Merchant Podcast because that is this new virtual warehouse management, virtual inventory management, where the inventory is not behind you on a shelf anymore. There might be one, but there's 100 others and vendor networks and other warehouses. So I applaud you guys on the technology you've been able to roll out and be able to manage that. And really from what we hear is, have reliable shipping and accurate data along the way. So always interested to hear that because it sounds like you guys are pretty progressive on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there anything new coming out with Essendant? You guys rolling anything out from a technology perspective or, just a product perspective?
I think a lot of, for many years, it was about services and it still is to an extent, services and things that we can offer for others to consume, whether it's an API or some real-time services. And I think we'll continue to roll some of those out. A lot of what we're doing, at least in my world internally, is again, focusing on our content and continuing to kind of like innovate there, up our standards. We're going to be, we're working through some internal system migrations and things like that should put us in a really good position for bringing on more content and speeding up, at a higher standard, but also speeding up that time to getting it in and getting it out across the organization. As we were talking earlier, there's still quite a lot of dependencies about, once an item comes in, how quickly can we get it out? And we do a pretty good job there, but let's just say if you have 6 different systems and groups trying to talk to each other and coordinate versus maybe 1 or 2 where things get consolidated and the technology is a little bit higher, that enables us to speed up our processes a bit, as well as make sure our data is more accurate inbound and less time correcting later and things like that. So in my world, a lot of what's going on is going to be us investing in processes to up our content game so that we can then push that out to you guys and our resellers and other partners to easily consume and take advantage of.
And that's almost like the same game that we run into. We've got our users, like Travis said, fulfilling from all these different partners. we got to consolidate everything in the middle to push it out. And it's like, we're starting to see, inventory source was easy, right? It's just that one-to-one connection, you pick and choose and it goes to your sales channel. But with Flxpoint, all the different ways that I can source products from, being a product information management system to curate and massage that data is great. But like, how quickly can you do that? And it seems like lately too, with our team is we've been optimizing on, product load speeds and, job speeds, like all these different progress things that we do to move and manipulate data has been all about, let's get the speed up. And we've heard from multiple customers of, you guys are the fastest like app I've ever seen, especially for, someone that has a 60K catalog. So we're definitely dealing with the same stuff, just I think on the different side of the fulfillment, the supply chain.
Yeah. Well, and I think, one of the things that I think you touched on that you guys also do really well is a lot of folks think about content. Well, I need the content for my site, but in addition to content, right, there's just data, right? There's inventory, there's delivery proposition, there's, having the right pricing and being able to update that quickly. And so while the content, of course, is so important, I think the whole sort of e-commerce experience revolves around all that data and like you guys being able to handle all of that, manage it and automate that really gives people a leg up. Yeah.
Travis, any final thoughts? Wrapping up time here.
No, I think I'm good. I think this is really, really cool to hear and see how Essendant's progressed. I just always curious on if there's anything, Mike, from your side that you feel like maybe we didn't touch on, anything that's interesting about Essendant that we didn't get to. Any thoughts over on your side?
Let's see. Anything? There's always interesting things, I guess. No, I think we touched on a good part of it. I think in addition to just the content that I touch on, Essendant has a lot of additional digital services that we provide to resellers in the form of like, hosted search, digital analytics programs that, our resellers can have their sites tagged in a certain way. And if they want, they can provide that click-through data to us that we can use to provide reports back to them to give them, actionable KPIs and things based on what we're seeing from their site performance and ways to improve their business. The hosted search also has APIs for enhanced content, merchandising, other rebates that can be pulled onto the site, video and things like that. So there's we even have, I believe, personalized marketing recommendations that can be sent for products and relationship items that can be sent based on what people are searching for. And so there's a lot, other than just static content and data and pricing, there's a lot of other opportunities for resellers, particularly if they're working with e-commerce vendors that have developed around some of this stuff to really excel out.
That the hosted search is interesting, and it reminded me of a podcast we did a while back where we just talked about, is the distributor dead, right? Because everyone go direct to consumer and, there's more 3PLs popping up. We basically said like, no, because there's a lot of value of having one catalog under one kind of middleman or wholesaler, if you will. But then, the whole argument was about the value and how it's changed over the years. I think the value used to be access to product, which is, a little bit less there where you can kind of work directly with brands. And then the 3PLs are kind of like, the logistics side is getting easier for brands and retailers. But I think the value switching to more of this digital technological enablement, if you will, is what we're seeing. Like you guys, once again, kind of being progressive in that nature of hosted search, better data, improving the ways you can access data, having real-time, APIs, things like that. It seems like that is the value shift we've been seeing in distributors as a whole, and still maintaining obviously the great turnaround on shipping and things like that.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. And I think, we take a lot of pride in that as well. And so when we talk to customers, I think a lot of them feel it's a definite differentiator between us and some of our competition.
Interesting. Yep.
Perfect. Well, we're wrapping up on time now, Mike. Obviously appreciate you jumping on. A lot of good insight there from a data perspective, from a distributor. Give us a quick little plug on why someone would want to check out Essendant.
For top-notch fulfillment over a wide array of products and just a great company of people to work with that are really customer focused and focused on doing good in the world around them, I recommend anybody work with Essendant. So.
I know you guys are number one, though, who I recommend, and it's almost purely all on that support perspective. You guys have been a great partner, very responsive to our customers. That's like a big thing that people look for when finding a distributor partner. So we highly love that. Thanks for jumping on again, Travis. Thanks for joining as always. And obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to subscribe on your different channels: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Check us out on YouTube. Any questions, head over to Essendant or Flxpoint and let us know. We'd love to chat with you. Thanks again, guys, and everybody have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye, guys.